All right. We are back here at Song of the Day, coming to you from the Rock Cave. I'm your host, Mark Pierce. You guys recovered from that 23-minute episode on Tesla with Paul Chabot. I don't know, just can't do short episodes with that guy. A lot of chatting, so much talking, but that episode got a lot of traction on YouTube. A lot of comments, so appreciate that. We are on Facebook. That's where a lot of chatter takes place among people I know, if it's a public page, for people who don't know that already. YouTube is where all the episodes live in one spot from the very beginning. And Instagram, we are on there. There was a gap there for a while, but we are on there. So now that we have that housekeeping covered, I listened to Tesla I kept listening to it for a long time. So that's some good stuff. And if you didn't do that, you should while you have a chance. What are we doing today? Well, we're looping back around, as you can see by the title. We're going to go back to Chicago. We did part one last week, the formation in the 1970s. And I said I would be back with Chicago 4, meaning episode 2. And as I mentioned in the episode, in the bylines, that they numbered their live albums and greatest hits, but they didn't actually number them. So when they skipped a number, it was to make room for those. So I'm glad we cleared that up, because I know some of you were losing sleep about that. But we're picking it up in the mid to late 70s. So the Chicago hits it big. They're huge in the 70s. They're on TV specials. They're on Dick Clark's Rockin' Eve. They have hits. They have 77, Baby What a Big Surprise. If you had asked me what year that came out, I think I would have told you that was an 80s Chicago song. 100% would have said that. I was surprised to see that was from 1977. But we're going to visit the 1980s with them. We turn it over into the 80s. They've parted with their original producer because they found out that he had enough money to buy a huge ranch that he could hold specials at, that they were like, I wonder how he gets all this money. And the unfortunate demise of Terry Kath, the forming member, guitarist, and vocalist, in an accidental self-inflicted gunshot wound in 1978. They're trying to figure out if they're going to continue. They don't know what they're going to do. They do decide to move forward. They interview like 30 different people to try to figure out how to replace this guitarist and singer. And they end up hiring a guy called Donnie Dacus, who, on a side note, sang backup for Billy Joel's My Life. That's him in the background there. And he's worked with tons of bands, huge amount of bands. And they put out a record, and that was the only record that didn't have a number on it. It was called, what was it called? Street something. Anyway, he was only in the band for like a year. So tons of lineup changes after that, and trying to figure things out, people leaving. And then finally, Chicago 16 in 1982, Peter Cetera taking over on vocals, but also, importantly, members of Toto. Some of the members of Toto are working with him on this, and they're like, you need to get with the program. So they add synthesizers, and they take away the horn section, either to bare minimum or not at all. And the next thing you know, it's considered their comeback album, and they're ready for the 80s, and that's exactly what happened next with Peter Cetera. They had some great songs on Chicago 16. Hard to Say I'm Sorry. Is that a power ballad? Most of their songs power ballads, kind of, right? I mean, they weren't hair ballads, they were power ballads. But Hard to Say I'm Sorry. Awesome. Went to number 1. I think they only had 2 number 1 songs. And also the song Love Me Tomorrow. Great song there. That's a great song. 1984, they put out Chicago 17, their biggest selling record of all. All kinds of hits on this record. If you remember, in 1984, You're the Inspiration goes to number 3. Hard Habit to Break goes to number 3. Stay the Night, one of their only rockers, goes to number 16. Along Comes a Woman goes to 14, 2 Grammy nominations. They got Peter Cetera's brother in there, Kenny, on percussion and harmony vocals. In 86, they get an American Music Award for Favorite Rock Band Duo Group. I think they were only AMA. I mean, they were huge. They were huge from 82 to 85. Almost 86. 82 to 86. Massive hit after hit after hit. Most of them, those power ballads we were talking about there. Cetera wanted to do what Phil Collins did, which was to have a concurrent solo career along with the band, and the band was like, "Nope, we're not gonna do that." So he left in the summer of '85, and then had a string of hits with either through movie soundtracks or duets. Of course, he had "Gloria Love," the theme from Karate Kid 2. "The Next Time I Fall," a duet with Amy Grant. In 88, it was "One Good Woman," went to number 4. In 89, he did a duet with Cher. "After All" went to number 6. So he, of course, enjoyed the rest of the 80s to have his hits. Chicago, still trying to figure things out without Cetera. They put out a record, Chicago 18, and they had a hit. Will You Still Love Me" went to number 3. And Chicago 19 had that hit, "Look Away." Now, if you had asked me if that was the same singer for Chicago, I would have said, yeah, those songs, yeah, Peter Cetera, that's him. And I'm just fascinated. It was for so many bands. I mean, I guess maybe it didn't happen a lot where they switched the lead singer and put out a hit where you didn't know that was what was happening. Either it was that they replaced the lead singer, we've talked about this, and they put out a better record, they became bigger, or they didn't. But there were a few bands where they replaced the lead singer and I didn't notice. I'm just saying, I'm admitting it. And the biggest example for me is Bad Company. I didn't know Paul Rodgers' name then, even though now I say he's one of the greatest vocalists, or most unique vocalists, greatest vocalists of all time. And I just thought it was Bad Company records coming out in the 80s. As opposed to Van Halen when they replaced David Lee Roth. Of course I noticed that, because David Lee Roth's personality and all the news and everything, it was a big deal. They weren't talking about big deals when they replaced other singers and other bands per se. So I didn't notice. Anyway, Chicago, big in the 80s. Did you see them at that time? Did you see them with Peter Cetera? Did you see Peter Cetera solo? So many great songs here. Song of the day was hard for me. I listened to all these songs. I was like, wow, these are all really good. I guess I would have to go with Hard to Say I'm Sorry. Even Lovers Need a Holiday. But personal, I mean, I just really loved so many of these songs. What Hard Habit to Break. I mean, that's awesome. I don't know. What's your song of the day from Chicago? Post it in the comments below. Stay the Night for me is a big one. It's a rocker. I like that one. So that's like tied for first place. Play some 80s Chicago today. Play some Peter Cetera. Comment below. Whatever you're doing today, I hope it involves music. And as usual, catch you on the flip side.